For my part of the presentation, we talk about mental set. Your mental set is your frame of mind in certain situations. Your mental set changes from situation to situation. If you kept the same mental set for every situation, you would end up constantly burnt out or always too relaxed. The correct mental set is key to classroom management. Your mental set is your mindset as a teacher. We all have different mindsets for different situations. We act differently according to our mindset. For example, at a football match, you're constantly watching the game, you're focused on the game, you're cheering, you're very lively. At a funeral, you're very peaceful, you're very respectable, and you're mourning. At a job interview, you are trying to come across as likable but professional, and with your friends, your mental set is very relaxed. The same with your family in most instances, but in the classroom, you must have the mental set of the teacher. There are two main parts of your mental set: your wittedness and your emotional objectivity. Your wittedness is the idea of having a heightened sense of awareness of what's happening in your classroom and being quick to respond to any real or possible disturbance. This is where the idea of teachers having eyes in the back of their heads come from. Examples of wittedness: scanning, constantly looking around the room, making sure that there's no one messing, that there's no disturbance going on, that there's nothing out of place. Using names. For example, if James down the back is talking to his friend, if you call upon him to answer the question to explain what's happening, he is going to snap his focus back to you, back to the board, and be paying attention again and know he's being watched. Stop instruction. So you stop the students of what they're doing and to give instruction. You do not let them continue doing the work as they will not be paying attention. And this also makes sure that you know that they're all taking on the information rather than just ignoring you. Non-verbal reminders. For example, if you're up at the whiteboard and you notice the student is starting to lose attention, not paying attention to you, you can just tap on the whiteboard as you're working and just snap their attention back up to the board to you and they'll be focused again. Avoidance. This is stopping a problem before it starts. If you see two students starting to talk, before this can escalate, you will intervene and stop it. This is not saying that in pink there's no reason for students to talk. There's always think, pair, share. There is always reasons for group work, but in certain situations you need to stop them talking, or you can use it also for messing, for inappropriate behavior in general. Reminders and warnings. Remind students what they're meant to be doing if you catch them doing something wrong. And warnings, you give students warnings before you take action. If a student does make a mistake and does act out slightly, if it's nothing major, there's no reason to go straight to the extreme measure. There's always room to give warnings. And a key that very little teachers actually use is walking around. If you're constantly going around in between desks during students doing the work, for my study in particular with technology, walking between the benches as students are carrying out their projects, this will keep students focused on their projects and know that they're meant to be doing, and they'll know that they can't have time to stop to mess. They know you're there watching. The other half is emotional objectivity. Emotional objectivity is the ability to keep a distance between what happens in your classroom and your response, trying to keep your emotions separate from your response. If you allow your emotions to come part of your classroom management, you will end up holding grudge against students who have acted out in the past, and you will end up treating some students with favoritism. We've all been in classrooms where a teacher has a favourite that are treated different than the rest of the class. If they show up without work done, they could be let slide, compared to if we've had teachers that always have one student that they have held a grudge against, where they keep the student up the top class, don't let them interact with any other students, don't let them engage in group work. These are both two examples on each end of the spectrum of just very bad emotional objectivity. Now for a recap of everything we've covered today. Understanding adolescents. It's key to keep in mind their emotional development, their biological development, and their cognitive development. Their understanding their behaviour, understanding why behaviours happen, where they've learnt these behaviours from, why they think this is acceptable, and if triggering events. Triggering events can cause stress. Dealing with disturbances, and a very major one would be bullying in behaviour, something that you need to stamp out as soon as it starts and not let it stand in your classroom. Now on to Robert Marzano. As has already been talked about, he's carried out many studies. He is focused on appropriate levels of dominance in the class, showing the importance of clear learning goals and different levels of dominance, where we've been in classrooms where some teachers would just let kids run wild and they have no control. That's showing that they have no control of the class, or where the teacher walks in, everyone falls silent, that the students are scared in the classroom, they're not enjoying the subject. This is also not a good example. Another key is student-teacher relationships. Student-teacher relationship should be professional. It should be factors that can influence it is the environment, working together as partners in learning rather than just student teacher talk, where students sit there, you talk, they take notes, that's the class. Student-teacher relations should be more flexible, should be working together to get the best possible results for the students, not only in tests, but in their learning for life. Disciplinary intervention is also key, as you have many different options to you. Thinking time, teachers' reactions are also key. The carrot and the stick method, the broken record, and the glass stripped. These are all key factors of disciplinary intervention, and what I've just covered meant to assess where it's important to keep in mind of your wittedness, keep an eye on everything that happens in the classroom, not letting anything slip. Again, especially in practice subjects where there's a danger of sharp objects, tools, in particular the lathe which students will be using, or even chisels which can be all around the classroom at some points. It's very key to stop any messing or disturbances that could lead to a student being injured in this classroom. However, it is very, very important to keep this in mind in every classroom where your wittedness is needed to keep control of class and not let anything slide. And your emotional objectivity is some of the most important, as it can lead to dealing with students on a case-by-case basis, where that's important. However, students should not be held for their past reactions, not given time or a chance to act differently in the future. Thank you, that is our presentation. I will now hand out a worksheet where you will write what you've learned from each part of the presentation, and you write down your question, and you ask a question, and hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions you have. Thank you.